Guten Tag, mis amigos. We are going to talk about class relationships. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to confidently be able to build many-to-many relationships using classes. So let's start by diagramming out a many-to-many relationship. Somebody give me a noun, por favor. Yogurt. All right, and I want everybody to think, get creative, something that would have a many-to-many relationship with yogurt. Think to yourself. I'm going to call on somebody. Martin, what's something that has a many-to-many relationship with yogurt, or could?
Like a yogurt brand or company.
Okay. So if I have a brand, one brand has many yogurts. If it was many to many, what would the other side of that be? Yep. One yogurt can be a part of multiple brands. Maybe not. But we could do something like yogurt flavor or something like that, like vanilla, honey. I'm not a yogurt person.
It works.
Greek, sure. That could conceivably have a many-to-many relationship. And so, if that's where we start, what do we need to do to start decomposing this so we can code it? Danica, what you think? Before we get there, one other step we need to do is still diagramming. What is it?
Right, we need the intermediary.
Yep.
Sorry.
What's our vocab word for that one?
Join table.
Join table. And presumably we're talking about yogurt throughout this app, so we probably don't need that anymore. Okay, what's a good name for this join table? What was it?
Yogurt brand.
Yogurt brand? Maybe. I think we can get more specific than that, though. Say more specific name we could use for this join table. What was it? Brand flavor. I like it. So now, this relation. Yes.
Would you recommend, just as, I guess, good practice, making the join table just the two classes? The name of it, just the two classes together, or would you want to get?
Careful. These aren't classes yet. These are what? Starts with an E? Entities. When we're drawing the picture, it's an entity. It becomes a class once we're coding it.
Okay.
They end up like having a one-to-one. That's probably a confusing way to say since we're talking about relationships. Those end up matching directly in this case, but they don't always.
Okay.
So anyway, your question was, is it a best practice to just jam these two things together to make the name? Yes, if you can't come up with a more specific semantic name. So for example, another common one is students in classes. One student can be in many classes. Each class can have many students in it. And so you could call that student class as the join table, or you could call it enrollment, which is a little bit more semantically accurate and descriptive of what you're doing. Not every one of those is gonna have like a super descriptive name. Like I can't think of a better one than brand flavor for this. So that's your fallback.
Okay.
All right, how do I rewrite these relationships? Think to yourself for a sec. Lizzie, how do you think I would diagram these relationships?
One brand table can have many flavors.
Yep. Sorry, say that again?
A brand flavor can have many brands.
Okay. So like, oops. Like that?
No, the fork needs to go the opposite way.
Okay. And what's our vocab word for the fork? Horse feet. Caw! And then Lizzie, what's the other side?
It should mirror it.
Yep, exactly.
What's the other term for, or is it like a completely different thing? So I remember you were like, oh, there's another thing.
Chen notation. Chen notation is different. Chen notation looks like.
Oh, it's like the double line.
Yeah, it's some things like that, and also the circles and squares and diamonds are all part of Chen notation.
Interesting.
One thing that is kind of beyond the scope of this program, but might be helpful to just know about, is these things here. Those are called cardinality, because we say like, all right, well this is one to many. You can actually get more specific than that. You can say this can be 0 or 1 on this side, and then this is 1 or many. Or you could say this is 1 and only 1, and it joins to 0 or many. You could also like specify the many. You could say this joins anywhere from 2 to 17 of these. And sometimes that makes sense to do so with the model. A lot of time when we're just trying to get an idea of the like how these entities relate to each other, what I'm doing right now is sufficient. Okay, so we've got this modeled pretty well. Now let's think about, we're going to do a different diagram. This is called a class diagram. And so a class diagram, the thing that's different about it is we have the properties and the methods. So we've got flavor. And maybe flavor has a description. That's one of its properties. And it probably also has a label. And then we also have brand flavor. And then we also have brand. Brand probably just has a name, and then we need to figure out, all right, those are the properties on this. What kinds of methods do we have? And so maybe we have one that's something like brands, and we get that via this brand flavor class. And so this maybe has like an all on it that will give us all of the brand flavors. Brands has something called flavors that gives me all of the flavors that we have. It's also going to get that through brand flavor. And yeah, that's kind of what we're looking at. So something that I noticed when I was going through some of your submissions yesterday is this idea. Oh, and we also probably want like an ad brand over here and maybe an ad flavor over here. And those also need to talk with brand flavor. One of the things I noticed in your submissions is that constructors were kind of all over the place. What do I mean by constructor?
The initialize method.
Mm-hmm. So, in the case of flavor, what's the initialize method? If I do flavor.new, what am I probably going to pass in?
Description label.
Yep. Don't actually use single letter variable names, but yeah, I'm probably going to pass in the description and the label. That's how I make a new one. You don't have to initialize every property in a class. We can set them after the fact. They can be derived from something else. Lots of different ways we can handle that. But that's sort of the gist there. So over here on the brand side, what am I going to initialize brand with? Just with name. Brand new. Cool. Now, when I'm initializing a brand flavor, what do I initialize that with?
Flavor and brand.
Flavor and brand. And this is like the part that probably hurts your head a little bit. Those aren't strings, they're not booleans. What are they?
Instances.
Instances. They're instances of those classes. So we're taking in a flavor and a brand, or other way around. We could also, this can also have properties like popularity or something like that. And that can maybe either be passed in, that can be derived from something else, and so on. All right, so we've kind of got an idea of how this is going to be structured. So what I want you to do now is you're going to code along with me, and we're going to build this together. I'm going to call this Flavortown.
Flavortown.
Somebody tried to make a burn on Guy Fieri and Never Devs the other day. I was like, nah, we're on the backlash at this point. We all like Guy Fieri now. It turns out everybody was like super mean to him for years, like for no reason. Like he supports small businesses. He talks about regular food that normal people eat. He like supports a shit ton of charities, and like by all accounts, super fucking nice guy. Just been roasted like
So
without
much.
mercy for a decade.
Yeah.
It's because he looks like a guy who should be shitty.
Yeah, that's true.
He's just not. Okay, so I have an empty app, nothing up this sleeve, nothing up this sleeve. I'm going to say, let's make some files to keep these three classes in. And what do we tie them all together with? An environment. So we're going to touch brand.rb, flavor.rb, brand flavor.rb, and environment.rb. So that made 4 empty files for me, like so. So I'm actually going to start with the environment. So we open up this environment file. What do I need to do to tie all this together. Make it so everybody can see each other.
Require relative,
Require relative,
or the file names.
all those files. So we're going to require relative, and we'll say brand, we'll say flavor, and we'll say brand flavor. If we want to be able to like interact with this somehow, there's one other thing that we need. What is it?
Require try.
Require pry. And then what's that, Katie? After I do that? Binding.pry. Cool. This should be enough to tie all this stuff together. And then one last thing we'll do before we smoke test this is I want to go into each of these files and just make an empty class. So if I go over to brand, I can say class brand, that's it. Over in flavor, class flavor, that's it. Brand flavor, class, brand flavor, and that's it. And we know this works if we can Ruby environment and start doing things like brand.new, hey, it made a new brand. Flavor.new, nice. Brand flavor.new, sweet. That doesn't throw an error, we're good to go. We'll give you a minute or so to catch up on that. Throw up a hand if you get stuck. Okay, that looks good. Now you want to run binding.pry.
Oh, that board here.
Yeah.
Oh.
Very nice. Now try running the Ruby command. Nope, it's going to be in the Ruby, in the binding.pry thing. So you got it right. Okay. You'll notice your entire terminal changes when you run this. Like that.
Is there a reason you don't want binding pry as your last line? Because I noticed on the code challenge they put like a 0 at the end.
Sure. You can totally have binding.pry on your last line. There was a version of Ruby that threw an error if you did that, so you just had to have something else after that. You're fine.
I get it. Sounds actually pretty interesting.
Show me your brand file.
Oh, yeah. I couldn't even know how to free mine with
That again.
got this really good like cinnamon like my stone actually made her own yogurt too, and like because we have like this pressure cooker and you can make this yogurt with it. And yeah, we just literally I have that every morning for like bunch of granola, bunch of fruit, which is cool. It's like really good like yogurt bowl. Yeah, it's really good.
You turn up your brightness.
Actually, it's pretty filling. It's like easy breakfast on to like pull out a bunch of pans and mix
Oh,
it.
it's 'cause you started
I hate
saying
sitting
that.
there going like, oh, you just want to keep going.
Not slash.
I didn't even want to take a shower this morning. I was like, do I really want to shower before school? I'm like, yeah, I do.
All right, we all caught up? Neat.
It's hot outside.
So let's see what we can do to start building out these classes so that they look kind of like that. So let's start with Flavor. Flavor has a description and a label. So over here, we're going to say, all right, when I make a new flavor, it should take in a description and a label. And I'm going to save the description as, wait for it, description.
Oh, I would guess that.
And I'm going to save label as label. Cool. So it'll make one with a description and a label, but I can't do anything with them. I want you to think about how I could make those accessible. Somebody other than Andrew.
Sorry.
Priscilla, what do you think I do? Yeah. So, and I'd recommend too that you default to adder reader, and you can use adder accessor for everything, and that's fine. The problem is that if you are modifying something that you shouldn't modify, you won't know. It'll just do it because you've made that legal, because you used writer or accessor or something like that. If you make it reader and then you try to change it, it'll throw an error, and you can go, okay, I should or shouldn't be doing that, and then open that up or change your code. So we want to start restrictive and then open up permissions as they become available. Okay, so I've got readers for these things. I should be able to make a flavor and read it. Por ejemplo, I go flavor.new, and what's it looking for? Description and a label. Description, the greatest. Labels, vanilla. And, oops, I should probably save that as something. So I say vanilla is that. I say, cool. Vanilla dot label. I get back vanilla. Vanilla dot description. I get back the description. Nice. There it is. One of the things that we had you doing also was keeping track of every flavor that's made. I want somebody to describe to me how I do that. Arlene, how do I keep track of every flavor that I make? Mm-hmm. Yep.
Then we go and initialize and shovel those in, using all, and then shovel,
And then,
itself.
good.
And you need something with shovel.
Oh, too many languages, man.
Yeah.
Cool. So now, if I run that again, I should be able to make vanilla over and over and over again. And if I say flavor.all, wait a minute, undefined method all. Arlene, what else do I have to do? Yep. Self what? Yes. Pause real quick. Somebody else, what is self.all? Why wouldn't I just say all? Because it's the class name that I'm working with. I want flavor.all, not vanilla.all. That's self, that's what makes that happen. Arlene, continue. What goes in here? Somebody help Arlene out. Add at all. Arlene, why does add at all work here?
Because we're pulling the array that we
Mm-hmm.
into the method.
But I'm not returning it or anything. Why is that working?
Because it returns the last thing.
Because it returns the last thing. Hold on.
That's true for everyone.
Yes. Cool. So now, I'll try that again. Run this. Vanilla, 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 vanilla. What are all my flavors? How about 4 vanillas? This guy's paradise. All right, so that's in pretty good shape. While we're at it, we can probably do a pretty similar thing to brand. So we can say def initialize. This takes in a name. Name is the name. Or we do that same add all business. And then say add all, shovel in self. We can say def all return def self.all returns all. We can say this should have an adder reader for name. And then, yeah, looks like we're in pretty good shape. Let's get that far. Give you a minute or two. Throw up a hand if you need help.
We went to brand.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So I know in some of the labs, you won't have to initialize with certain variables, like, I think one was like, you have a discount,
Mm-hmm.
or I guess the discount was set default to 0,
Mhm.
but it may or may and not even necessarily have to,
No.
but
Yes.
do you,
I just
like,
type
real
like
world
every single day.
examples
I
of
use
why you would
every
have
single day. Like I literally do.
variable, but not?
I don't know. I just type really quickly.
Yeah. If something
I don't know why.
has a
I tried to
default
keep
case
up.
that you want to be
Yeah,
able to
I think I
override,
slow.
like for example, requires accessibility accommodations.
I was actually
You can default that to false, but make it overrideable.
Would you list it next to, so next to initialize, you would do like?
Yeah, you're like, oh shit, like, I forgot how to like process what you're typing is supposed to like.
You did it.
It just flies out of my fingers because.
But that makes it so that when you're making new brands and stuff, you don't have to necessarily test everything every time, but it has a strong space. You just want to
See, I
specify.
used to like, I don't know. My boyfriend used to-
Okay, give me a
Texted him all the time, so he's typing for hours.
Give me a fist of 5. This is what are we doing? And this is I'm all caught up. All right, sounds like we're in pretty good shape. So now we need to marry these two things together. So we've got doing pretty good on this, doing pretty good on this. Now we need to figure out what on earth is happening with brand flavor. It's the hard part.
Oh boy.
So my initializer for this, what do we figure out goes in here, Priscilla?
Brand and flavor.
Yep. So we'll pass in a brand, we'll pass in a flavor, we'll say brand is brand, and flavor is flavor. The mind-bendy part of this is the data types on those. That's an instance of brand and an instance of flavor. Okay, cool. Now, if I want to keep track of all the brand flavors, what else do I need to do? It's not different, yeah.
Add it all.
Yep. So we can do the whole add it all dance. Same as before. Self.all. Magic. Cool. So we've set up this brand flavor thing. Now we need to be able to add a flavor to a brand. We need to be able to add a brand to a flavor. Yeah. We could, yeah. Why not? I like it. Add a reader, brand, flavor. Cool. So let's start with the flavor side. So we need a method called add brand. What do you think add brand, just based on the name of this method, what do you think it takes as an argument? A brand. And like that seems simple enough, but I can't tell you how many times people try to get clever with these names. Don't get clever. Be obvious. If you're trying to add a brand, call it add brand and call this variable brand. Like being incredibly pedantic about this is to your and your teammates' benefits. All right, so we take in a brand to add brand.
So what's the value for the brand? So it's gonna be in the at all.
So the value for brand, what is this data type? Ben?
Array.
Nope, not an array.
Object.
It's an object. More specifically, it's an instance of brand.
Oh.
So we say I have this brand of yogurt. I'm passing that in as an argument to add brand. Okay? And then single source of truth, that's the join table. So what do I do with that? Yeah, Aaron.
Brand flavor dot new.
Yep. Brand flavor dot new.
And then brand self.
Self. Because I'm the flavor. You're giving me the brand. I need the brand and the flavor to make this join. I have the flavor. You're giving me the brand, so I have everything I need to make a new instance of this. Cool. And so when that happens, it's adding that to this record. That's our source of truth. It's keeping track of every combination of brand and flavor. Neat. So now, next thing I need, brands. So if I can do this, I still need to be able to see all of my brands. Arena.
Can you explain again why in brand flavor you need brand and self?
Oh yeah, good question. Who can answer Arena's question?
Can you say it again?
So I'll say it for the microphone. Reading those survey comments. Question was, why do we need brand and self when we're calling new with brand flavor? Damon.
Because when you initialize a new brand flavor, it takes an instance of brand and an instance of flavor,
Yes,
and you're calling it on flavor, so you just use self.
exactly. Since you're calling vanilla.addBrand, this is vanilla. Other questions so far? Okay, this next step, this is the hardest part of this. Getting all of the brands from flavors, because we need to do this across this. So I would think of this conceptually like I need to get all brand flavors. I need to filter for my flavor. And then get only unique values. Because if I get all the ones that match my flavor, and my company has shows up multiple times on that, I end up with Dannon 6 times. I only need Dannon there once. So that's why we're only getting unique values. So let's try this kind of in order. This first one, get all the brand flavors. How do I do that? Someone other than Damon. Cool, Chris. How do I get all the brand flavors?
All dot map dot unique.
Ooh, almost. You're like kind of in the ballpark. What am I going to type to get every brand flavor? Just the first step. Think about how we set this up on brand flavor. Someone help Chris out. Aaron.
Brand flavor dot all dot select.
Don't even need the select yet.
No.
Just brand flavor dot all. Chris, why does this work?
So that's telling you which dot all to get.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly. So we're saying this class, call this method on it. And we defined that over here. We said, hey, I got this all method. This will get back everything that's ever been added. Cool. All right, so we've got brand flavors.all. We just call that all brands, all brand flavors. And at this point, we can do ourselves a favor by going to environment and seeding it with some value, so I don't have to type all that shit out every time. So above the binding.pry, probably want to do flavor.new, and flavor takes in a description and a label. We'll say the best vanilla and call this vegetable berry. We'll make a flavor called bean. All right, so I've made some flavors. These will, every time I run this file, it's going to add those and throw me in the binding.pry, so I don't have to type them out. I should probably save them. Something though. Vanilla, vegetable berry, and bean. All right, so I make some brands. I make Dannon, brand.new, Dannon. Greek. Sure. And then, all right, so I have all of those. Those variables just exist when I run the file now. So I'm over in the flavor. I want to see what I get back when I run. Let's see, I'll seed it with one brand flavor. I'll say that brand flavor.new takes in a brand and a flavor. I'll give it Dannon and vanilla. Sick. So I go over here, I run the file, and I say vanilla.brands. Cool. So I have one instance of brand flavor that has a brand that's equal to this instance of brand, a flavor that's equal to this instance of flavor. I'll give you a minute to get caught up. Throw up a hand if you got stuck somewhere.
Can I see the environment?
Cool. Give me a fist of 5 on where you're at right now. All right, that's critical mass. So I'm kind of curious, does this add brand work?
Yes.
If I do, well, let's prove it. So if I do vanilla, add brand, and pass in Greek, cool, I got something back, that's a good sign. If I do vanilla.brands, it's in there. All right, not bad, not bad. Okay, so we did step 1 of brands. We got all the brand flavors. But problem is, I did vanilla.brands and, well, I guess I got both of them there. That's fine. But I might have another brand that isn't associated with vanilla. That's going to show up there too, because I'm just getting everything right now. So how do I filter this down so that I'm only getting ones that have my flavor?
Dot select.
Yeah. The old enumerable, the old black magic.
Yield and
So I say select.
That map and that select, they are the same.
Ooh, map and select are not the same. What is map for?
Maps for transforming in the range.
Yeah. So if I've got 1, 2, 3, and I map that to double everything, I end up with 2, 4, 6. If I have 1, 2, 3, and I want everything that's less than 3 or everything that's odd, then I end up with fewer things.
Is there a thing in Ruby that checks if the number is even or odd, like in JavaScript?
Almost definitely.
I'll say there should be.
All right, so if I'm selecting through this, what criteria am I selecting on? Oh. Everybody think, and how I'm going to select on this. Mo, what you think? Okay, so I've started this select. What criteria am I selecting on? What makes it in? Brand flavor. Then what? I'm trying to get filter for things that are my flavor. Kind of. That's sort of what we're doing already. Let's back up a sec. Let's talk about what happens in a select. What is this kind of function-y sort of thing? What is this expecting back? I heard it whispered. True or false? We want something that returns true or false. And if it returns true, makes the cut. If it returns false, doesn't get included. So 2 equals, that's going to return something true or false. Are these the same thing? So what do we want to check is the same thing? The flavor. So brand flavor dot flavor is the same as what? Nope, not true. Self. Because I'm calling this on vanilla or something like that. So self in this case is going to be vanilla. So we'll say, all right, give me every brand flavor, and then I want you to filter through it and give me only the ones where the flavor for it is vanilla. or whatever I'm calling this on. So we'll call that like this flavor.
Do you recommend making variables within methods like you're doing, or just making separate methods?
I don't like that. This thing here, I think it's really good for illustrating what's happening. And I'll also say that Rubyists tend to like this kind of thing. But old functional JavaScript Kyle wants to just string it all together into one thing. Your mileage may vary. All right, so now I have, or let's see. Brand flavors matching this flavor. Real descriptive variable name. So I had every brand flavor. Now I have only ones where vanilla is the flavor part of it. Now the problem is that I can still end up with the same brand a bunch of times. So what do I do? Stop that. It's our third step. Dot unique. So brand flavors matching this flavor. Dot unique. It's spelled weird. And if I do that, and I want all of Vanilla's brands. Hey, what do you know? Oh, one last thing. So this is, I've been working with brand flavors this entire time. Need one last thing.
Don't you need to get just the brand?
Just the brand. And that actually needs to happen there. And that, if I have a list of brand flavors and I want to turn that into a list of brands, what's that an example of? Map. Brands matching this flavor is brand flavors matching this flavor dot map brand flavor and then return brand flavor what? Dot brand. Then I can do brands matching this flavor dot unique. All right, let's see what happens now. So now if I do vanilla dot brands,
Yeah.
oops.
You accidentally did brands matching this flavor instead of brands flavors matching this flavor on the.
Oh, good call.
I saw that and I was like, that's like an error.
You were right. Brand flavors matching this flavor. And I get back Dannon. Sick. And I can add vanilla, add brand. You know who else is in the vanilla game these days? How about Greek?
Vanilla game.
And now I can do vanilla.brands and get back Dannon and Greek. That's the many-to-many magic. So I want you to do the other side of this. Because you're going to do basically the exact same shit from the brand side, where we're adding flavors and that kind of thing. But before we do that, what questions do you have? If I were going to clean up this code and write it Coverly style, I'd probably delete these variables. And do it more like this. And I can even do shorthand for this one. Dot brand, maybe?
It's a colon.
It's a colon? Yeah. I'd probably do something like that. It's the exact same thing, just way tighter. And I'll prove it. If I say vanilla.brands, still works. So again, that was that. All condensed down looks like that. You can do either one for the code challenge and pass. I don't care. Just get it working. All right, with our last bit of time, what I want you to do is over on this brand side, I want you to get flavors and add flavor to work. You can fill out both of these things. That's the other side of the equation. Go! Toss up a hand if you get stuck.
Oh, you mean where he like only has the. Should try and
Select the map. Not select.
Yeah. Maybe this is the
No, I like the map ritual.
So you're on the track. After that, I can map to that. So it's you're on the. You're just in it. Now at this end, do right here. Oh no, clearly on the end, like do a dot map on the actual end. Do dot map, and then do whatever. Do yeah, just like flavor. I just put flavor. And then inside that, I can do it just to flavor that flavor. Yeah, because flavor would be the whole thing, and if you got flavor, it's so control the flavor. That's how you want to map it.
Because the result of the map is
Like if you do things, it should work. Oh, really? Why relative?
Because you map this in a different array of flavors. So if you want to
Find
array of
labels,
labels,
brand class, go to brand.
Map it again, there's no.
I remember, oh, you know why? There's no space between the.
Is that like an invocation?
There you go. Oh, yeah, no, I understand. It should work out.
Okay, and just dot map right out, not from that, for the.
Oh, and then do
Sticker and the business with the input.
Oh, okay.
But go to flavor. Scroll down. Oh, you're supposed to be, it's because of this, you started this map and you didn't do anything with it. Yeah, you should probably like comment on it or something. Yeah, I was wondering, I thought it was like something wrong with that, I was like, no. Right? This comes to brand flavor.
How absurd the plot of Karate Kid was.
Where's the
Sadistic
RB
karate coach. No mercy.
Oh, did I not?
Wait, go to your brand flavor because you could see the F needs to be capital. Because you put, just change that to lowercase in the class because there's no point in having it. There, now it should be good. It's just because you're typing so fast.
Yeah, on the,
Alright. Now do you read, or no, yeah, you did your flavor, so like vanilla brands or whatever.
you didn't call it the.
There you go.
So we're just make these two amendments.
Yeah, we have to like go to the. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, you gotta capitalize it.
Because everyone just investing
Yeah.
So capitalizing and not capitalizing.
Yes.
When you set a class, it has to be.
Has to be.
But when you're like running methods on it, or, oh no.
Yeah, see, that has to be capitalized.
Yep.
How is that written? How would you get an error? No.
And then full,
It should be,
did you capitalize the F in brand flavor also?
no.
That's fine. You should do that, but as long as it's the same, it'll work.
Okay. So, why did it didn't give an error though, and it was lowercase.
It should have.
Yeah, sure.
Huh. Oh, you have to. So whatever you call. You're right. No color, no peas.
Yeah, no, I know,
So is that and ampersand colon shorthand only work in the normal parentheses? Because I noticed I tried using brackets and it was like throwing errors, and I was like, oh, this is
Has to be inside parentheses.
okay. Yeah, because I noticed that it's a shorthand, but I never use it because I still don't really understand how it works fully.
So this curly Q is a shorthand for like each instance of the thing you're mapping over.
Oh, okay.
And this symbol is points to whatever that method name is.
Oh, I see.
And since we have a reader on that, that's the reader.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, use it more often.
Yeah.
Then.
When you call in flavors, when you say brand flavor dot brand,
Mhm.
what is this dot brand?
Interesting. It's two different ways to do brand.
Sure. So it's each instance of brand flavor. So brand flavor is keeping track of
Oh,
every
yeah, no.
combination of
learned
brand
when
and flavor we
I try
have.
to help people too.
And
I'm
so
like,
we're going
oh,
through each pair of those.
Right here when we said brand in our brand
Yes.
Interesting.
Actually, it's more specifically, go back. It's that right there. We're calling it that method.
Okay.
So that
you have
ends
to
up being the same thing we passed.
find all the flavors from a brand.
Yeah, we want everyone where the brand matches.
Like I literally
Those
just
are
use
my brand
actual brand
flavors.
space like Lucida flavors. And it's like, I don't know. Should just print only flavors, not like the entire like brand flavor thing.
This is all the brand.
Oh yeah, you'd be selecting. Yeah, you'd be selecting.
All right, now give me a fist of 5 on how far you got in making this work.
So yeah, it's hard to explain.
Okay? Some hits, some misses. That's all right. So, be with me now. Thank you. So, let's zoom back a sec. Why? Why did we do this? Why do we do all these gymnastics to get the flavors? 'Cause I think the way that you guys were doing this before is you just like keep track of a flavors thing or something like that. You shovel new flavors into that. What was the problem with doing that? Why do we have to go to so much hassle? Has to do with single source of truth. Joe.
Was it that if you are only tracking it in one class, that it's unbalanced on the truth isn't tracked through the entire entity essentially?
That's exactly it. If we're only keeping track of it in one place, I might be able to do something like add a brand to the flavors here, but does the brand know that I added a flavor? No. So now I have to add it in 2 places, and now those 2 things can get out of sync because there's 2 sources of truth. This is keeping track of all of its brands, and this is keeping track of all of its flavors. Yuck. So we make one thing in the middle that keeps track of the intersection of both of them. We got to do a little bit of gymnastics to pull them out. That's what this shit is. But it makes it so I can add a flavor, or sorry, add a brand over here without also having to add a flavor over here and keep 2 different stores synchronized. Other questions that came up while you were doing this? Sweet. If you were not able to get this working, hang back a sec. Otherwise, smoke them if you got them. Take a bathroom break. You guys have career services in 5 minutes.
Is it,
Go.
Is it here or in Fox?
I have no. We're in Fox.
Oh, we're in.
I don't know.
It's in Bourne.
It's in Berg.
Bergen.
So start migrating over.
Bergen. All right. Wow, Damon, you move fast, don't you? You packed up quick, man. You're just like, whoop. Yeah.
It's all my problems.
Yeah, my laptop has a faulty battery, so I have to use this. I mean, it just runs for 40 minutes, but I'm not paying money for a battery.
Kick the door.
Well, it's not even my laptop, man. It's not
That's even more.
exactly. It's my stepmom's. It's like her old one. She's like, here,
Yeah, more important.
you can use it. And I'm like, I wanted to take those key things off, and she's like, don't take them off. I'm like, well, they're like warm.
Okay, so you're saying, hey, new flavor,
Yeah, I can't even tell it's a flavor. It's just so bright. I'm like, it's
If I didn't know keyboard.
exactly. If I didn't type on the keyboard every single day of my life, then I would. And she was like, how would you type it so fast? Did you copy and paste? I'm like, no, it's muscle memory and typing fast. That's pretty much it. Exactly.
So explain to me how this works.
So okay. We're in the brand, so we're adding the flavor
Mhm.
to the brand table. Brands will add, so add flavor. We have this method. Brand flavor doesn't instance you're creating.
Back up. Brand flavor's the class.
Okay.
New is the method. We're making a new brand flavor.
Okay.
What do we pass it?
Passing through.
Passing
Right.
those two things. What are those two things?
So self would be self, right? The
Instance
brand.
of a brand.
Brand, okay.
Dannon,
Okay.
Greek, that kind of thing.
Okay. And
Then-
then we need flavor because we initialized it with two arguments, right? A brand.
Yes, we give brand flavor, a brand, and a flavor.
Okay.
But that flavor should be coming in here. And so you call that add flavor. That's why it should be called flavor.
Add flavor, okay.
The method name is
Sorry, I was
right.
just
Nope.
typing.
The method name is right. The argument you're passing to it.
Flavor,
Yeah.
okay,
There you go.
okay. So adding the flavor to the brand table.
On the brand table, the
Brand
brand flavor. Because when we do dot new, go over to brand
To
flavor.
the join table.
Yes,
Adding
exactly.
of flavor to the join table.
So go back over here.
Okay.
That's this. Every time you've made a new brand flavor, now we're keeping track of it.
Okay. Okay. And then method flavor, so we are selecting through all of the, well, like brands and flavor categories and join them.
That every combination of them
Right,
that we
every
have.
instance of them.
Dannon, vanilla, Dannon, vegetable berry, Dannon, whatever.
Okay. So we're iterating, you want to select
Mhm.
the brands. Hold on, cells. Oh, we're trying to come back with an array of unique brands.
Eventually, but this first thing here, we've got, Dannon, vanilla. We might also have, Greek vanilla.
Okay.
And we only want ones that are this brand. That's not getting this brand's flavors.
This brand, like if you pass in the argument.
You're calling this on a particular brand. You're calling it on, Dannon. You're calling it on Greek. So it's vanilla.flavors, Greek.flavors. So saying I only want Dannon's flavors. And so this line right there is making it so we're only getting the ones that you're calling it on.
Okay. How does it know calling it on which?
Because this method that we defined here, we're saying is an instance of brand has a method called flavors. So Dannon has a method called flavors, and self is Dannon.
Okay. A little loopy, but, okay. Oh, cause you're, right, cause you put in Dannon.flavors, that's
Exactly.
why, okay.
Yes.
Okay, I was like, how does it know?
So now we're getting only Dannon's brand flavors.
Got it.
And so then what happens on that map?
So we want to iterate and get out any duplicates.
Not quite. That's what the unique does, but what does the map do?
Oh, we wanna return an array of,
Mhm.
of all of the flavors.
Yes. Because brand flavors is the combination of each of them.
Right.
We only want the flavors,
And we only want.
and we only want unique ones.
Okay,
That's how that's working.
got it. Yeah, I had to like assume that this is a method we're calling on Flavortown.
So what I'd recommend doing is, do a build burn on this. See
Yeah.
if you can do the entire thing from scratch.
Right.
If you get stuck, wrestle with it for like a minute.
Right.
And then you can look back at
Right.
this, and then keep doing it until you don't have to refer back to
Gotcha.
your example anymore.
Okay.
You got it?
Oh, what do we have?
Questions
We
if you
have
have
something
time.
in-
Career services.
You guys have career services now, but what you got?
I had a question. Were we supposed to put anything in brand flavors? I was trying to follow along with the code, and I just completely failed at.
No, you don't have to add any properties to it. You can, but.
Oh, you did?
This is the one that you
Pushes.
initialize and those two flavors, right?
Yep.
And then, this is the one where I was trying to do it, and I kind of understand the way that you use it for copy and paste, but to do it myself is
Sure.
something that I don't fully understand yet.
Okay, walk me through what's happening here.
Well, okay, so, so for this method of, add flavor,
Mhm.
you're giving it a flavor
Mhm.
and adding it to the brand that is going to be called on, whatever you name it.
Oh, Carol, let's clean up the language on that. We're adding it to brand flavor, which is keeping track of unique pairs of
Gotcha.
those.
Okay, so, okay, I see what you mean. So we give it a flavor and we use the,
Mhm.
and then we use the brand name that we've given to send it to.
Yes.
Flavor. Okay. And then over here, we go there, we go to everything that's there. We want to find, the brand flavor that is equal to whatever flavor we put in the self.
Yes, so where does self come from?
Flavor, I believe. Well, it comes from brand flavor, but it actually, I believe just from flavor, right?
So, yeah, it's the thing that we're calling it on. So if this is Dannon, self is Dannon. Cause we're doing
Okay.
Dannon dot return flavor.
Okay. Okay, yes, I can understand that now. Kind of.
And then, okay, try it again. What is that map doing?
The map,
Or sorry, the select, this line 23.
line 20, yep, so select is going into brand flavors,
Mhm.
all of them.
Yep.
Finding the brands
Mhm.
of all the brand flavors that are
Mhm.
there, to see which one of them is equal to the brand that we've put in.
Yes.
And then that is returning.
The brand that it was called on.
Right. And that's, returning an array of just the flavors and only unique ones.
That's it.
Nothing duplicated. But I'm gonna have to like destroy this and
Yep.
make it like 50 times
Yep.
before I totally understand it.
There you go. Get cracking. What you need?
I was just confused about like the dot map on flavors.
Sure. So how this works, are you confused about what the dot map does or this goofy notation I'm using?
Just why it's there.
Okay.
It takes like 10 seconds before before I leave real
Yeah.
quick. When I try to run it, I get an error and I don't know where I've messed up exactly. I can't read the error too well.
Underfine local flavor for brand flavor class. Show me your brand flavor class. Back to brand. Go to flavor. All brand, oh, I think you meant to put a underscore. on
I
line
thought this
23.
was. Oh, God, okay, I see it. I put
Cool.
spaces. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. So, Gage, what we're doing here is we're saying every single brand flavor, give me only ones where the brand is me, but I don't have a list of flavors at this point. I have a list of brand flavors.
I see.
And so I need to map through it so that I just get the flavors.
Only the flavors, yeah.
Yes. is that I want an array of brand flavors. I eventually want an array of flavors.
Gotcha.
That's why.
I was also confused on def add flavor
Mhm.
while we were creating a new instance of brand flavor
Sure.
inside of that.
So what is an instance of brand flavor?
Something that relates, something from brand or flavor that relates to each other.
Yes, it is a combination of those two things matched up. So if Dannon serves vanilla yogurt, I should have one instance of this that's Dannon and vanilla. So adding a flavor to a brand is creating a new instance of that.
Okay.
Of that combination.
Yes, exactly. Because the entire purpose of this class is to keep track of those combinations, so that I only have it in one place. Because I can't do it in just brand, I can't do it in just flavor, so I have a third entity that keeps track of unique pairs of those.
I got it. I was just like, I super blanked on writing this because I think it's partly because I didn't really build a good enough foundation with Dog Park as far as, like, I understand it, I just didn't work enough typing it out and being comfortable with typing all this out. So it's like, I think that's where I'm at right now, is like, I understand, like, I can look through this and understand exactly what it's doing. It's just, when it comes to typing it out, I'm like confused on where do I type, like which folder am I typing this in? I understand that like brand and flavor are met in brand flavor, so you call, when you're searching for something, you start out with brand flavor, like.
Totally.
It's just.
So build and burn this. Get this under your fingers, and then once you can just do this in your sleep, it's going to become a lot easier to analyze this and talk about what all the different pieces are doing, or what happens when you do them differently, and that kind of thing. But I'd recommend fuck Dog Park. Just take this one, try to build it from scratch, try to see how far you can get without referring back to this, and then keep doing it until you don't have to look at this anymore.
For sure.
Cool.
I'm just curious why this is just returning. I'm trying to get the flavors.
Okay.
Why
Right.
isn't it just giving me?
Just that one. Did you add more? No, you only made one.
Oh, this, okay.
Yeah.
I
So
think that's where I'm getting confused, is like how to call them
sure. So
or create the new instances, I guess.
okay. So let's try doing it from the flavor side. So we've got a new flavor. We want to add a brand to it. So that's what this add brand does.
Oh, okay.
We're saying, all right, here's a new combination of this. It should have the brand that I passed in and me, because I'm calling vanilla dot add brand Greek. And so what that's going to do is make a new instance of vanilla and Greek in that join table.
So, I mean, I'm actually basically doing that here.
Yeah, that's exactly what you're doing. But you did that with one of them. That was your seed. So you can write the exact same thing there, and then when you run this file, now it has two flavors or two brands. Or
I know,
whatever.
because I see that sometimes you'll add it, like,
Mhm.
in the terminal, and I don't understand if you're adding any of that.
Sure. This is just like I typed it out in the terminal. It's just to save time. And then what we'll do next week is we'll make apps that are only in the terminal. So people have made games and a variety of things that all you're doing is typing that out. This just gives us a place to start from.
Okay. So, alright. So this is easier, obviously, than the organized.
Yeah, it's also fixed. So now, Dannon has to have a chocolate thing. It's not interactive.
Okay, and if I want to add more flavors to there, I have to continue doing that.
Exactly.
Instead of just, okay. Okay. Alright. I got that.
Sort of clear up a little bit?
Yeah.
Awesome.
I just need to go over it in my head probably a million times.
Yes, that's what it's all about. All right, hop over to career services. I think I'm gonna have to stay back.
Haven't a few already passed?
No, I don't think everyone passed yet. Kelvin got close yesterday, and they're close in a really interesting way where we're gonna get 4s and 5s out of a
Yeah.
lot of them today.
How is Sneaky Ben doing?
Not great.
Well, yeah, he was super far behind.
Oh, and he didn't come on Friday.
I know.
He doesn't have his computer today. Like, he's kind of a mess, dude.
Yesterday, he was looking for spare headphones too.
Yeah.
Is
He
this
got his
room?
computer today too, and asked to borrow one.
Like, he's a pretty sharp guy, but I don't know
Did
about
you
this.
give him a computer?
We don't have any today.
It's just like, so he's just doing it all on paper. He's a hard worker and a smart guy, but this was,
Yeah.
I don't know that this is doing him a favor. Big Ben Benjamin.
Yeah.
Do I remember right that we're working with women of Denver on scholarships? That's official?
Yes.
Off the sidewalk and onto the street.
It's another driving concern.
Denver takes a big step forward towards reining in scooters. But will the response cause as many problems as it solves?
Everyone feel safe riding it on the street.
Well, tonight your scooters are no longer welcome on the sidewalks of Denver. Tonight the city unanimously passed a law that forces scooters onto streets and bike lanes instead.
To which you might be thinking it's not exactly like all riders obey the rules of the road to begin with, so why start now? Denver 7's Ivan Rodriguez picks up the story from there.
Riding a scooter for the first time can be like learning to ride a bike as a kid.
First time trying to ride here.
But it's not stopping Danielle and Michelle.
Very nervous. I actually flagged down a scooter person and asked them some questions before attempting to get on it for the first time.
It's also their first trip to Denver. They thought it'd be fun to explore the city by scooter.
It seems like a really economical way to get around. It's what drawed us to this choice. There's a lot to see and do here, but you do want to have economical choices.
After tonight's city council vote to kick scooters off the sidewalk and into the street, both women say scooters might not be the best option after all.
I wouldn't ride a scooter. It's too dangerous. It's very busy here. I wouldn't feel safe riding it on the street. Not all the streets have the bike lanes, and there's too much traffic. It feels a lot safer on the sidewalks.
For Kate Rose, who lives in Denver and works on 16th Street Mall, this feels like a long time coming.
I think that's probably the right move. I mean, they go as fast as bikes can at their top speed, so and bikes have to ride in the street. I kind of worry about getting hit sometimes.
Scooters will be allowed on sidewalks if they're driving less than 6 miles per hour.
You go to jail.
Yeah.
That's
Well, yeah, that's why, before I even send an email, I'm checking with Jeremy and I'm
Yeah.
Anna,
That's fine.
I don't wanna put anything out there that I can't take back.
I'll send over to you exactly what I have to see you safe.
And specific to Denver, we do have 50/50 gender credit, right? I don't know. I don't think I
In Denver?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, far from it.
Okay.
Yeah. Our most recent cohort might be. Do you know what the gender distribution is of our most recent cohort, Kyle?
Almost 50-50.
Almost 50/50, yeah. That's 18 students too, so we're really close to it. And the next one's looking pretty good
Okay.
as well too. No more, there's like one female in the cohort thing.
Do you think it's better to kind of say that over the phone, or is that okay to?
I'd probably keep that a phone conversation.
Yeah.
Like, I might say diversity and gender inclusion are core to our values, and we're seeing proof in the pudding with our most recent cohort having a close to 50/50 split.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But I wouldn't write that.
No, I'm not in the business of doing that.
I just butchered your thing, yeah. I don't know, I gotta like start from scratch.
Do you want me to share this with you too, Josh, so you can see what the, in case you aren't interested in sharing anything about it?
Yep. Always. Hey Kate, I'm gonna call an Uber in 10 minutes. Does that help with me at all?
Yeah, that sounds good.
So, hot geek camp news today is Thinkful got acquired.
By who?
Chegg. Yeah, I can see
Really?
the face I made.
They don't like
also.
ship textbooks or something like that?
Yeah, it's part of Chegg's big play.
Thinkful got acquired.
Yeah.
Huh. And it means Block was acquired too.
They own Block?
Yeah, Thinkful owns Block.
Oof. So, Schultz just said, "Hi, Thankful is getting acquired. Also, I broke up with my girlfriend. Have a great week." It's like, duh, James.
Weren't they living together?
For like years.
Yeah.
I think they were engaged at one point.
Oh. Courtney was her name, right?
Correct.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having on the call. Cool. So yeah, I just wanted to. I think I pretty much covered everything I wanted to cover with you in regards to setting up your technical interview, kind of taking next steps. I think the last question I had for you is when were you planning to relocate and actually start a movement like this? Okay, cool. That's very exciting. No, I think you're in pretty good shape actually. So we typically say that it takes, I don't know, if you do the tech interview within the next 2 weeks, I think having an additional month to complete all of the pre-work would be ideal. So I think we have more than enough time, which is great. So we'll have some time to do the work that you require, pass the interview, and then obviously getting yourself and all of your things together to relocate. So I think this is a really, really good amount of time. You'll have some wiggle room for sure. Yeah. No, the tech interview would be the last one in the process. Yeah, and then from there you're all set. Yes.
There we go. Okay. And I'm just gonna do this.
Not that I know of. Typically, I know it's primarily the student's responsibility to obtain a student visa or the B1 or B2.
Yes.
We aren't able to assist with that process, but of course, if you are legally allowed to be here, then we're of course happy to have you study at our school. We just don't really assist I know that I think it's 8 hours, or it was 11:40, it's 6:40. Okay. 9 hours. So if we did like, if we scheduled it for next week at like 11 a.m., would 6 p.m. be a good time for you? Is that typically the best time for you to meet? Yes, 6 p.m. your time. Or like 6:30. We can do, so let's see. Are you free on Thursday the 12th at 6:30 p.m.? Okay, perfect. So we'll schedule it for that time, and then if you need to reschedule, like if you need a couple more days to prepare, you can just reschedule automatically via the link that we send you. So I'll set that up. I'll set that up right now. And yeah, it's no worries to push it back. It's not a big deal. And it'll be set up very similarly to this email for this interview. So you'll get an email with the Zoom link, and be prepared to share your screen with the instructor and go over that lab that I showed you. And again, I'll put the date and time for your interview in the email too. Cool, and that's all I have for you. And this is my number, so if you have any questions moving forward, feel free to give me a ring. But so far, that's all we got. Good luck on the Nelly County lab. Let me know what you think about it. Yeah, you got it. I'll talk to you very soon. Thanks, Jen. You got it. You too. Yeah. Take care. Bye.
Incognito.